Welcome to the Thing About the Salem Witch Trials. I'm Josh Hutchinson. Today you're going to learn about a big day in the witch hunt.
This is Sarah Jack. That day was April 19th, 1692, and it was a turning point in the Salem witch trials. By the end of the day, there were new accusers, new accusations, and a pair of confessions.
So April 19th was a busy day in Salem Village. There was a lot going on. We've got 4 people being questioned about their witchcraft charges against them. We've got a lot of people submitting testimony. Depositions are coming in. We've got just a lot of people saying a lot of things about witchcraft in Salem Village. So today in this episode on this program, we're going to be talking about the examinations themselves, what happened when the magistrates interviewed the suspects, and what did the afflicted persons do in the courtroom, and those kinds of things. So we're going to focus on that. You can also check out Salem Witch Trials Daily for even more on April 19th. We'll talk about the depositions in particular over there. So today, Salem magistrates traveled to Salem Village again to interrogate witchcraft suspects. This time they had 4 examinations to get through. It was their busiest day yet. They've done 3 at a time before, but never 4. So court was in session at 8 in the morning.
Judges John Hathorne and Jonathan Corwin appointed Reverend Samuel Parris and Ezekiel Cheever to take notes. Those 2 men are the source of our information on these examinations.
The magistrates chose to examine Giles Cory first.
Giles Cory is the husband of Martha Cory, who has already been arrested. When Giles was asked, "Have you never entered into contract with the devil?" he replied simply, "I never did."
Next, he was asked, "What temptations have you had?"
He replied, "I never had temptations in my life."
What, have you done it without temptations?
Afflicted woman Sarah Bibber asked Giles, "What was the reason that you were frightened in the cowhouse?" Upon completing her question, she was immediately seized with a violent fit.
Samuel Braybrook, John Bibber, the husband of Sarah, and the Bibber's daughter, who's not named in the document, testified that he had told them this morning that he was frightened in the cowhouse.
Giles denied that he was ever frightened by anything. So he's never been tempted, he's never been afraid. And all he saw in the cowhouse was cattle.
All of the afflicted were now seized with fits and troubled with pinches. And the court ordered Giles's hands tied.
This is interesting because that whole trope about, the chaos in the courtroom of the Salem witch trials, that was happening right here with Giles on
This is it.
The examination.
Yeah.
So his hands are tied. Hathorne asked, "What is it? Not enough to act witchcraft at other times, but you must do it now in the face of authority?"
Giles said, "I am a poor creature and cannot help it."
Like this.
Well, his hands are tied apart
back here
from each other.
Oh. Like to the chair or what?
I don't know. They don't describe how it's done, but they untie one of his hands and leave the other one tied to something.
Hathorne asked about the cowhouse again and why Giles lied about it.
Now Giles said, "I never saw anything but a black hog."
Can you imagine? I'm sorry, we can get to this, Josh, but can you imagine being dragged to court on witchcraft and they're mad at you for not saying you were afraid? You have to say you're afraid in the cowhouse.
Yeah. Their big question is, what did you see in the cowhouse? What was in your barn that frightened you? What did they expect him to answer?
Hathorne inquired about a time Giles was stopped in prayer, and Giles said his wife had found fault with him for saying, "living to God and dying to sin."
Asked again about the barn, Giles said he didn't remember it.
Hathorne asked Giles about some ointment found with his wife, Martha Cory, when she was arrested.
Giles denied that he had ever said that she received the recipe from Major Gedney and said that Sarah Bibber had given Martha the recipe instead. Sarah Bibber said that that ointment in question was not like her ointment.
After further questioning, the court ordered one of Giles' hands untied. When it was released, the afflicted were afflicted.
Of course, whenever he moved, the afflicted mimicked him. He held his head to the side, so they held their heads to the side. He sucked in his cheeks, so they sucked in their cheeks.
Next, Giles was accused of saying that he would die by suicide and have it blamed on his son.
Hathorne told Giles, "If you can give way to self-murder, that will make way to temptation to witchcraft."
Sarah Bibber said that Giles had called her husband John a damned devilish rogue.
Several others testified that they'd heard Giles make other vile expressions.
Well, if they were accusing him of being afraid in the cowhouse, I'm sure he was coming at him with something.
I bet he was coming up with lots of vile expressions when he was frightened.
Abigail Hobbs is the next person to be examined. When it was her turn to be interviewed, Hathorne asked, "What say you? Are you guilty or not? Speak the truth."
Abigail said, "I will speak the truth. I have seen sights and been scared. I have been very wicked. I hope I shall be better. God will keep me."
When questioned about the sights she'd seen, Abigail explained that she'd seen dogs and many creatures, by which she meant the devil.
Asked how many times she'd seen the devil, she said she'd seen him just one time, and he appeared as a man. This had been at Casco Bay in what is now Portland, Maine.
Now Hathorne asked a multiple choice question. Was this in the house or in the woods?
Abigail chose B, the woods. No surprise there, as she was known to sleep out in the woods at night.
Abigail had said this happened 3 or 4 years ago. Since she's now only 14 or 15, she might have had this supposed contract with the devil when she was as young as 10. But nobody in the courtroom batted an eye at this thought. After all, 4-year-old Dorothy Good was already in jail on witchcraft charges right now.
Yeah. I can really picture, I don't know about you, Sarah, but I can really picture Abigail Hobbs being a character in the classic cult film, The Craft. Maybe even Nancy Downs.
Oh, yeah. Nancy Downs, of course, is like a few years older than this. And if Nancy was younger, it's definitely Abigail. According to Abigail, the devil told her he would give her fine things, and she would be a witch and make a covenant with him, which she did. And Nancy did want fine things, by the way.
She did, yeah. She wanted fine things because she lived in, poverty. They lived in a rundown place and couldn't pay for the electricity. So, anyways, back to Abigail. Now, Abigail confessed to seeing a cat at her house. The cat was carrying the devil's book, I guess with its mouth. Abigail's response to a cat carrying a book, which to me, I would say, wow, that's weird. But her response to a cat carrying a book was to shrug off the absurdity and just sign the book.
Yeah, but what about all those AI videos with the walking bears? Maybe this was like the walking cat, and it was on its back legs carrying in the book.
Carrying the book in its paws, like hold them together.
Abigail also she saw things like men, which also encouraged her to sign their book. Apparently, there was some competition among freakish things to get Abigail's signature. I'm thinking fairies here, Josh.
Well, whether it's things like men, which could be fairies, or it's cats, or it's dogs, or it's just a man, or whoever, everybody wants Abigail to sign that precious book. So these things like men tried to bargain with Abigail. They ultimately settled with her on a 2-year term for Abigail to serve them. In exchange, she would get fine clothing.
Abigail said she never did receive any clothing, but she did sign the book again, for 4 years, and that was about 4 years ago.
The devil wanted Abigail to hurt Mercy Lewis, whom she knew from Maine, and Ann Putnam Jr., the daughter of Mercy's employers. She admitted she pinched them, except not in her person.
John Hathorne asked, "Doth the devil go for you?" She answered yes.
She said the devil did not take her spirit with him. Instead, he has her permission to go himself and hurt people in her likeness.
This specter devil permission thing really becomes an issue with the ministers this year, doesn't it?
It's quite a theological question on whether, first of all, you have to give him permission for him to use your likeness, or if he can just use anybody's likeness on his own, even an innocent person. And then you've got it further into this question here. Are you actually going to do it, or is the devil going in your stead, in your shape, to do it?
Abigail accused Sarah Wildes of bewitching her mother at the worship service the previous Sunday. This is the first time Sarah Wildes is mentioned in the surviving legal documents from the Salem witch trials. Sarah Wildes of Topsfield will go on to be executed, and Abigail Hobbs was her first accuser.
There's so many Sarahs in this story. Here's another one. Sarah Good had once appeared to Abigail, and the devil told Abigail that Sarah was a witch. Abigail could not remember the name of the only other witch who ever appeared to her.
Abigail said Sarah Good didn't want her to hurt anyone. She just wanted her to sign another book.
Book, book, book. Always the book. When Abigail did make a covenant with the devil, she made it with her mark in his book. She could not write, but she probably could read, because it was right at the time for girls to read the Bible, but downright wrong for them to write their thoughts about it.
2 weeks ago, around April 5th, the devil came to Abigail in the form of a man with a hat and received her permission to hurt people in Salem Village in her shape.
Judge Hathorne now turned to a new line of questioning. Do not some creatures suck your body, he asked.
He's asking this to a young teen.
He's a creep.
No, Abigail said. I'm so relieved she said no.
Yeah, and then get this next question that this is John Hathorne, this middle-aged man, asking it to the teen. He goes, where do they come? To what parts when they come to your body?
They do not come to my body. They come only in sight.
Do they speak to you?
Yes.
How do they speak to you?
As other folks?
What? Do they speak to you as other folks?
Yes, almost.
Now, Abigail.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, right here, she's really exhibiting that to her, the imaginary or the unseen world and the seen world is one and the same to her.
Yeah. There's not a boundary between invisible and visible.
Not for Abigail.
Everything's real in Abigail's world.
She just leaned fully into that. The thin veil for her.
Into a lot of things.
Yeah.
Now Abigail supposedly could no longer hear the questions being asked. The afflicted people, Mary Walcott, Mercy Lewis, Betty Hubbard, Abigail Williams, and Ann Putnam Jr., claimed they witnessed the specters of Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne run their fingers into Abigail's ears.
Falling completely into a trance, Abigail could not see, though her eyes were wide open. Again, this is right after she's been asked about her body.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there was talking, but
yeah, now she goes quiet. She's just like shuts down. Like, this is too weird for me. This
isn't
too
fun. The devil's fun. The other part is wrong.
Yeah, the judge and the court, it's not fun. I'm going to shut down. When she was able to speak, she said that Sarah Good was preventing her from saying anything else. She was escorted away to go to the jail in town.
According to Samuel Parris, who recorded this examination, the afflicted people were not afflicted the entire time Abigail Hobbs was confessing. And after the hearing, Mercy Lewis, Abigail Williams, and Ann Putnam Jr. were concerned about Abigail Hobbs' condition, expressing compassion for her. Wow. I am serious. That judge was being a creep, and it bothered all these girls.
It did. They were like that Abigail, she shut down, but we know why she shut down because the man's being lecherous.
Intrusive.
He's a dirty old
Yeah.
man. He's a creep. But Abigail's confession was the first since Tituba's 7 weeks ago, and one of the few in which the confessor accused another person, Sarah Wilds, who had not already been accused.
Because when Sarah Good she accused Sarah Osborne, who'd already been accused by Tituba.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the three of them accusing each other, basically.
Another woman was examined that day, Mary Warren. Hathorne and Corwin examined her third. With Cory and Hobbs done, that left only Bridget Bishop waiting in the wings.
If you've been following Salem witch trials daily, and we hope you have, you know we've been saying there would be drama involving Mary Warren. At least as much drama in her real life as there is in the portrayal of her in The Crucible. Because in real life, her life was on the line here.
The moment Mary Warren approached the bar, the afflicted fell into fits.
Mary said she was innocent of the accusations against her.
Hathorne asked the afflicted if Mary had hurt them. Some of them fell silent, but Elizabeth Hubbard, referred to as Betty in this document, testified against Mary and then fell into a violent fit.
Hathorne said to Mary, "You were a little while ago an afflicted person. Now you are an afflictor. How comes this to pass?"
Mary said, "I look up to God and take it to be a great mercy of God."
What? Do you take it to be a great mercy to afflict others?
Betty Hubbard told the court that a short time after Mary was freed of afflictions, she said that the afflicted persons did but dissemble, meaning they were faking their fits and lying about their spectral visions.
Of course, the court seems to have decided not to investigate this claim, and they'll continue to trust the word of the afflicted persons over the word of any of the accused.
Now all the afflicted fell into grievous fits. Even Bathsheba Pope,
Bathsheba Pope, by the way, she is Benjamin Franklin's aunt because she's the sister of his mother. So, a very direct relationship between Ben Franklin, who later writes a spoof about a witch trial, and Bathsheba Pope, a real person involved in witchcraft accusations. And John Hathorne, he said, "Well, here was one just now," meaning Abigail Hobbs, "that was a tormentor in her apparition, and she owns that she had made a league with the devil."
instead of answering, Mary Warren fell into a fit. Some of the afflicted declared that she was about to confess, but the apparitions of Martha Cory, John Proctor, and Elizabeth Proctor came in and struck her down and said she should tell nothing.
Mary's fit continued, during which she apparently couldn't see, hear, or speak.
It's interesting. Hobbs went like a statue and non-responsive, couldn't see, hear, or speak. Mary's having a fit and not responding.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something like just the pressure of the courtroom and the pandemonium being surrounded by people who are accusing you of vile, horrible things, and just them being young people, that had never faced pressure of that sort before, probably. It might have just been too much.
It's all fun and games until it's not.
It's not.
At the end of the fit, she started up and said, "I will speak," and cried out, "Oh, I am sorry for it. I am sorry for it." She wrung her hands and fell into another fit, tried to speak, but her teeth were set, fell into a violent fit, and cried out, "Oh, Lord, help me. Oh, good Lord, save me."
She then cried out, I will tell, and then fell into a dead fit.
After she came to again, she shouted, I will tell, they brought me to it." Then she fell into a fit again. Eventually, with no end to the fits in sight, the court ordered Mary Warren to be taken out and Bridget Bishop brought in.
But later on, Mary Warren was called in again, but had fits for a while.
Hathorne managed to ask her, "Have you signed the devil's book?"
And she said no.
Have you not touched it?
No.
By the way, no one's actually touched the devil's book, and he knows that. Because there isn't one. It's spectral, and he's asking her if she touched it. It just really infuriates me that he asked her if she touched the devil's book. Because he's not even saying who brought you the book, what was the circumstances. He's saying, have you touched it?
Yeah. He's asking a lot of leading questions and he's prompting people to say what he wants them to say, basically, or what he believes is the case based on what other people have told him going into this. Like when the people make the complaints, they tell him about the circumstances and he comes in to these questions and he just knows what to dig into.
She had more fits and was set out to get some air.
Brought in a third time, she was completely unable to give sensible answers, so she was sent right away again.
Now, a fourth time, Mary was called in for a private meeting with the magistrates and ministers, including Samuel Parris, who continued to take notes.
Here's how this exchange goes in the record that Samuel Parris made.
Mary Warren called in afterwards in private before magistrates and ministers. She said, I shall not speak a word, but I will speak Satan. She saith, she will kill me. Oh, she saith, she owes me a spite and will claw me off. Avoid Satan. For the name of God, avoid.
And then fell into fits again and cried, Will you? I will prevent you in the name of God.
Once again, Mary became insensible and was sent away. But don't worry, that's not the last we'll hear from Mary Warren. Follow her case and others on our daily podcast, the Salem Witch Trials Daily.
Finally, Bridget Bishop gets brought into the room. She's someone that is very well known. So people mostly know Bridget Bishop for a couple things, for her red paragon bodice, which wasn't a color that was out of the ordinary for Puritans. Red was pretty normal. And she's also known as a rowdy tavern keeper, which she wasn't. The tavern keeper was Sarah Bishop over in Salem Village. This is Bridget, and she lives in Salem Town. And Bridget had been arrested for witchcraft back in 1679, and she was tried but acquitted. But her reputation just stuck to her like super glue and would not go away. This witchcraft reputation, even 13 years later, people still remember her that way. And so finally, the judges bring Bridget into the room to answer the questions.
During that exam, she denied the charges against her, saying, I never did hurt them in my life. I did never see these persons before. I am as innocent as the child unborn. Later, she added, I am innocent of being a witch. I know no man, woman, or child here.
And she really probably didn't. She was from Salem Town and may never have even been to Salem Village except for this examination. The meeting house in the village and Nathaniel's Ingersoll's ordinary, those locations were about 6 miles inland from Bridget's home. And there just may not have ever been a need for her to go in that direction.
Judge Hathorne asked if Bridget's coat had a cut. The garment was inspected and found to have 2 cuts. Mary Walcott's brother, Jonathan Walcott Jr., said that he had struck at Bridget's specter with his sword still in the scabbard, and the cut he saw in the coat now may very probably be the very same that Mary Walcott did tell that she had in her coat by Jonathan striking at her appearance.
Clear as mud. Bridget later said, I am not come here to say I am a witch to take away my life.
She knew what was on the line, especially after getting her name pinched into the document, her arrest warrant. She knew she was an afterthought if she was shown that. I'm assuming she could read, so.
And she knew not to come in and say a lie that she was a witch because they were going to take away her life anyway, even if she did come in and confess.
At one point, she declared, I am innocent. I know nothing of it. I am no witch. I know not what a witch is.
Hathorne seized on this and asked, How do you know then that you are not a witch?
I do not know what to say, Bridget replied.
How can you know you are no witch and yet not know what a witch is?
I am clear. If we're any such person, you should know it.
Yeah.
She's like, if I was a witch, you would know it.
Yeah. And he knows that she's saying, she knows exactly what she's implying there. He says, you may threaten, but you can do no more than you are permitted.
I am innocent of a witch.
In another exchange, Hathorne said, it may be you do not know that any have confessed today who have been examined before you that they are witches.
She said, I know nothing of it.
Then John Hutchinson and John Hughes told the court she was lying because they had told her that Abigail Hobbs and Mary Warren had confessed.
The afflicted charged Bridget with murdering her first husband, Samuel Wasselby.
She said, I know nothing of it. I do not know whether be any witches or no.
Bridget steadfastly denied familiarity with the devil.
And yeah, Bridget, the whole time she was accused, she denied, because she wasn't going to lie about herself and say that she was a witch when she wasn't. She had been acquitted of witchcraft charges once before, but she knew things were different now. So she had to react by saying just no, 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 no. And so at the end of the 4 examinations, the suspects were all committed to the jail in Salem town.
For more on these wild events of April 19th and every day, because this was just one day in that year, check out our other podcast, Salem Witch Trials Daily.